Hi, everyone. My name is Philippa Hughes, and I am the director of Looking for America. In this project, we travel all over the country and curate art shows in which we ask people, what does it mean to be American? And then we organize large dinners across the political spectrum, asking people the same question and to interact with art and really have meaningful conversations with each other. And it's been a really amazing experience. But we thought we'd try something new running in the run up to the election. We wanted to talk to Americans in battleground states. And we partnered with the Friedrich Ebert Foundation, a German political foundation that is interested in hearing from real Americans, unfiltered by media, unfiltered by the things that politicians are saying. What do real Americans in battleground states have to say? And this week we're in Pennsylvania. And so I'm excited to talk to two amazing Pennsylvanians. So I'll have them introduce themselves to you. Mustafa, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Mustafa Nuur, and I am a resident in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I'm a small business owner and the founder of an organization called Bridge, which is an online platform that you can book cross-cultural experiences with local refugees and immigrants to learn about their culture and their story. And this has been an interesting year for us. So I'm looking forward to share my opinions and talk to you guys.
Great. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Tom, will you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Tom Murphy. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Have all my life, pretty much. Have traveled a great deal. I work right now for the Urban Land Institute, which is a real estate organization that promotes smart growth and good development, and about 45,000 members. Prior to that, I was mayor of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining today. You know, I had like this sort of whole list of things that I thought we could talk about today since the time we talked about joining today. And like in the last week, as usual, all this stuff got upended because President Trump got sick with COVID and was in the hospital. And now we don't really, it doesn't feel like it's very transparent about what's actually happening. What is his actual health right now? You know, I mean, what do you think? What are you all thinking about? How much transparency should the White House be giving us? What are you feeling right now, given the events of the past week?
Well, I mean, let me just say something. I think you're getting lost in the weeds, and what Trump has very successfully done from the very beginning is discredit the media, and so you're going into the media rabbit hole, is what you're doing in the sense of talking about this when the average voter who are going to vote for Trump, millions of people in Pennsylvania, don't trust the media about the transparency. They just know that our president has COVID and don't know about all the details. When did he get it? And when did he, how many times has he needed oxygen and stuff like that? That is not why people will make a decision whether they're going to vote for Trump or not. And that's what I think, and Trump has very effectively basically said that the media, that somehow Fox News is not in the legitimate media, but the media is out after me. And whatever I do, it doesn't matter. They're going to make it sound bad. And so your question takes us down that rabbit hole, is what it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I agree with you. The people who were gonna vote for Trump are still gonna vote for Trump, but there is that still sliver of people, and it is a sliver, that now are sort of questioning. I think that they're questioning, even Brian Kilmeade on Fox News has questioned the information that's coming out of the White House. So I do wonder if there is some movement because of this lack of transparency and this lack of strength. And, you know, he's trying to still show a show of strength by appearing on the balcony and all the things, but it's starting, I don't know, I feel like there's a little crack in the veneer that's starting to happen. And it's because of this.
Yeah, I think what Tom said is true. He has really effectively managed to portray the media or anything that we are sharing like this conversation we're having right now is going to be considered fake news or fake conversation, and we're discussing just facts. It is really important to highlight that this might be a deciding factor for many people who have trusted the president just because they see him as a strong leader, as somebody who can lead them out of an economic recession. So him downplaying and actually forcing us and Pennsylvanians down into an economic hurtful. As a small business owner right now, my business is waiting on the stimulus negotiations to go through, because I have so many employees who cannot come back right now because of what's happening. So I'm a voter who's gonna care about those decisions the president is making and the recklessness of canceling negotiations in the middle of an election. So I can see the cracks happening in the White House, but at the same time, I can see the conversations happening within the people who are right now looking at this and going, hey, maybe we need to stop and really rethink about how much we can trust the administration, even with the things they were claiming to be strong as, such as the economy.
The fact that he stopped the negotiations does, I mean, what do you think, Tom? I mean, doesn't that send some kind of message that something is amiss in the administration right now, in the campaign?
Well, I think the fact that he canceled the negotiations, even though, they've been stalemated for months. And I mean, it is a blame game. Whose fault is it that it's been stalemated for months? Is it the Democrats because they were asking for the sun, moon, and the stars, and the price tag was so big, or is it the Republicans? They both want it. I mean, they both want the stimulus package. They're all in their interests to have, except for the hardcore Republicans who don't want to spend more money. But so it's not a question of everybody is for a new stimulus package. It is the question of whether the Senate and the House can agree to it. And that has not happened so far. So I can appreciate Trump's frustration in trying to force the two of them by saying, okay, then we're done. We're not doing this, to force the two of them to come back and negotiate in a more reasonable way.
I mean,
understand that the problem is not Trump in this case. The problem is the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate and the House not being able to agree.
yeah.
If they'd all agree on something, I don't think that there's a question that Trump would sign it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a super wonky thought, but until he tweeted that he was going to stop the negotiations, he could still blame Congress. He could still blame Nancy Pelosi for whatever way that he would blame her for not being able to get this done. But now that he's now on record saying, I stop it, now it's his fault. Now he can't blame them anymore.
It is, but what has happened now is that basically they're going to make another try at it.
Yeah.
And so it's a high stakes game he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, he's making a pretty big bet, and
for an election, he's betting that by sort of saying that, he forces people to be grown-ups.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to make this decision. You need to make this decision now.
Yeah.
It's like raising your kids and giving them some responsibility. That's increasingly what this looks like.
Yeah, I think what some of the challenging things for me to wrap my head around was the recklessness of how he just tweeted. I mean, everybody expects that from the president, but not when the economy and the lives of many Americans depend on it. So I do agree that the Senate and the House didn't agree with it, but he's at the end of the day, the buck stops with him, and he is the president of the United States. And some of the language he used in that tweet of saying after he wins the election really is a scary language for somebody who is part of a democracy.
I actually try to not talk about Donald Trump too much, because at the end of the day, it's really about the American people. It's really about, our democracy and how we participate in it. And whatever issues we have with polarization and et cetera, all those problems continue to exist no matter who wins in on November 3rd, 2020. What, I don't know, like what are Pennsylvanians thinking about, how we're going to get past the next step after November 3rd? What happens after November 3rd, regardless of who wins?
We wake up and life goes on. I mean, there's no big immediate change.
Yeah.
It's a question
Well,
of,
yeah, not November 4th, but long
it's a question of how, the choices then that the president makes. But I think I've had an opportunity to visit Europe a lot, and Germany particularly. And what I've come to realize in many conversations and working with cities, that there's really a fundamental difference in how we govern ourselves. I would say, as in America, we believe that we have a God-given right to carry guns, and we have a God-given right to do what we want with our land in terms of development and everything. Whereas in Europe, and I say that because we value individual rights. It's in a much more powerful way than European countries and Canada do, in the sense that they value more community rights. So you see it in land use, you see it in guns, in the fact that people are not allowed to carry guns. And it's a community. So we emphasize individual rights over communal welfare much more. And that plays out in how we make, it has been playing out since Washington was president, of how we make choices. And that's the battle going on in this election in many ways, with Trump representing extreme individual rights. I'm going to eliminate regulations. And on the other hand, Biden emphasizing much more, we're in this together. It's a community thing. And so that's the underlying debate that's going on here, of how people, what choices people want to have. And I think Biden will win, but it remains to be seen how that plays out. And so whether it's healthcare or guns or land use or lots of other choices, that differential between emphasizing community value versus individual rights is, I think, the underlying conversation going on in America today, and has been for 250 years.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we are moving toward a more collective mindset in our country, or is this going to just keep dividing us?
Well, I think what Trump did, I think Trump saw that, and when he ran, as an opportunity to distinguish himself, because we were, whether Republican or Democrat, moving more and more in that direction. And I think and the more moderate Republicans saw that, and they opposed it around the edges, but not directly as Trump has done. And I think that's a debate going on in the country. And Trump supporters that I know, they want to be left alone until they need something. And then they want a government stimulus, right? But they see the Democrats as getting into their lives, telling them whether they can have guns or not, or taxing them more, or telling them what kind of health care they have. So it is all about that battle of individual rights, is what it is, versus, and it's complicated, because the very same people, will want government subsidies, like the farmers, right? They are generally a very conservative group of people, but when they're impacted, there's huge billions of dollars of subsidies supporting them. So that's the battle going on in America now, and I think we're at an extreme moment in that discussion.
Yeah, I feel like what I think about what happens after the elections, I think we can all attest to the polarization that's happening in the country, and this tension, and how we cannot even get along with our neighbors right now, because we are Republicans or Democrats. So I feel like after the election there has to be intentional work that needs to happen in all communities, in bringing people together, because we cannot continue existing in this divided nation, where there's so many issues that are bringing us together right now, that we should not focus on dividing each other. Yeah, so for my personal goal for after the election is to see what are some of the works that we can be done in at least bringing people together in, because we are so polarized right now, and this election cycle is not helping that division.
I want to end on a hopeful note. What are you hopeful for the future, Tom?
I guess, go ahead. What I'm hopeful for is much what Mustafa said, is that we would begin to create a climate of accepting differences and tolerance, and begin to build a sense of neighborhood. Remember, Fred Rogers is from Pittsburgh. And he actually supported my first mayoral campaign.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's about the neighborhood, isn't it, Mustafa? It's about how do you build that sense of neighborliness. And I think that happens in cities, and it happens in neighborhoods and communities. And that's why I believe that the most important level of government where you can create that kind of is at the local level, is in Lancaster or Pittsburgh. I mean, the bigger cities, and even in Pittsburgh, there are 90 neighborhoods. And so you would have really, what I find when I was mayor is that those neighborhoods are very, very identifiable and very committed. And so you begin to build that sense of community on that, so that people accept differences. I always remember a number of years ago, just in the beginning of the AIDS crisis, these friends of ours who were gay had moved into this row house, and on either side were working class, sort of tough truck drivers and stuff like that. And the one man came down with AIDS, and several of them women in the neighborhood ended up bringing food over to them and everything. And you know, you would think they would be so disapproving of this gay couple, but on the other, what really happened is that they became part of the whole family of the street in the neighborhood. And I think that's the kind of sense of community that you want to see happen, regardless of people's differences in race, creed, nationality, sexual orientation, that you get accepted.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, I agree too.
That's motivated for me for 30 or 40 years. So from the Peace Corps forward.
Yep, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that note. Well, you know what? I think that we should keep our eye on Lancaster, because one day Mustafa is going to be the mayor of Lancaster. I'm calling it right now. And I will help you run your campaign or whatever you need me to do.
Right after I run your presidential election.
No, it's a great city. It's really turned around a lot. Do you know anything about Lancaster, Philly?
Yeah, I think she has.
I've visited several times because we're going to be working together. So I love it. I think it's one of the most interesting places I've been in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the market downtown and the sense of community, and it's just, where do you have your business?
In downtown. Lancaster I love my city, and let me give you just two interesting facts about why it's a very cool city. We have been named as the refugee capital of America in 2017 because our country resettles 20 times more refugees per capita than any other place in America. And there has been a lot of talk of tying the economic growth and the change in Lancaster County as directly tied to the increase in immigration, but also it leaves the room for a lot of polarization to happen in my own community. So the city is really amazing in in really being neighborly to each other. And I feel like that talks to why we have been successful in coming out of an economic a recession, to being the best, to increasing our tourism, to increasing our everything. So yeah, I'm a very, very amazing advocate for my city. And if you ever want to visit, Lancaster is your place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. This has been an awesome and interesting conversation. I really appreciate it.
Good luck.